Hello everyone, my name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
Today we're gonna shock the world. I feel like I am so excited because it's gonna be awesome.
I'm beyond excited because what he is going to do is the single biggest no-no in all of diving. Not just open circuit, but rebreather diving included.
Well,
it can't, and by the way, I just want to go on record. There's no chance this is going to work, and I'm probably going to have to take you to the hospital. So okay. I'm worried. So
let's just explain. So when we dive a rebreather, you've seen that we have bailout tanks. We use bailout when the rebreather stops working. But there's really only two reasons to bail out, which is you flooded your rebreather or you have a breakthrough, right? Hypercapnia, CO2 going through the scrubbers. There's channeling, your rebreather is no longer rebreathing, it's no longer working, so you have to bail out. Those are the two scenarios. So we have rules for that. Number one, to avoid the channeling, we do a good job packaging and, packing the sorb so it prevents it. But the other one is don't take the loop out of your mouth. Don't let it flood. It's like rule number 2 of rebreather diving, would you say?
It may be rule number 1. It's on every page. If you flood it, though, let me explain the problem. Inside is sorb. It removes the carbon dioxide. When that is wet, it turns caustic. We call it a caustic cocktail. It's like alkalinity battery, alkalinity in your mouth. It will burn your mouth, burn your vocal cords, and basically you can die. So he thinks he can literally flood this rebreather. He claims that it will let air, but not water. Water won't get to this sorb. He's going to completely flood it underwater and go back on it, which is the single number 1 rule of what you can never do. So I've already prepared. I know that local hospital that I'll be taking him to, and I have a Coke that'll hopefully neutralize it as he's screaming on the way to the hospital.
So that's what you believe. Now my belief is that this rebreather is bulletproof. You can flood it completely, you can flush it out, and get back on it. There's no reason to abandon this rebreather. You don't have to bail out. I mean, you have to bail out momentarily to fix the problem, but then you can get back on the rebreather.
Next week when you eat again, do you want Chick-fil-A or Burger King?
All right, let's go. And this is a Sidekick Lunar. So Kiss used to make these, they're not made anymore. Sidekicks are an amazing side mount rebreather. What makes this one special and why it's called the Lunar is that it has some, at this point, like ancient technology inside. It has a canister, the canister that holds the sorb that, as Woody explained, if it gets wet, it becomes acid and it will burn everything inside me. It has a special canister that allows air to go through, but not water. At least in theory, that's the way it's supposed to work. So think of like Gore-Tex, right? This canister is actually older than me. I think it was made in the early 80s or something like that. So it's been, I hope it works. But the whole point is I can flood this whole unit, I can remove all the water out of it, and be back on it breathing again in theory.
Let me explain something a little bit different than Gus did. Inside of this, if you get the chemical inside of this wet, it's poison.
Okay.
For non-divers. I just want you to understand, it's really simple. When he floods it, it's going to get all the stuff inside soaking wet, which then is poison that will kill you if you put it back in your mouth and ingest it.
If he dies, he dies.
Okay, so basically what you're going to see is we're going to go underwater. We're not going to go inside the cave to do this, although this is a cave diving rebreather. It's used mainly for cave diving, so maybe we'll go in the cavern.
When it kept dry, it is, yeah. When you don't flood it.
We're gonna go in the cavern perhaps to look, make it look like it's a cave or whatever. Then where you're gonna see something you've never seen on a video before, I'm going to take the loop out of my mouth and let it flood. Like literally you'll see bubbles bloop, 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 go out of it until it's flooded completely. Now I'm not gonna be holding my breath while I do that. I'm gonna switch to my regulator. I'm gonna be breathing on a regular regulator, so you'll see me on it. Once it's completely flooded, and we agree it's completely flooded, I'm gonna take one last breath. Well, I'm going to do a procedure.
That is true. That may be your last breath.
All right, that was unfortunate. I'm gonna do a procedure which involves me going upside down, hitting some buttons, doing some things. I'm not gonna bore you with the details, but the procedure to clear the water out of the rebreather. And once I think is cleared, because you don't know until you try it, I'm going to take one breath and switch back to the rebreather and hope for the best.
I'm going to be filming, so at that point where he takes that last breath, when he starts choking and spitting and spewing up poison, the camera may, at that point I may have to save him, so I don't want you to be mad at me if the camera...
But get the content though, get the content.
Well, I got to try to get you out of the water.
If I can breathe, I'm going to say okay, not only okay, but we talked about giving like a 1 through 5 scoring on the quality of breathing. Like if I was, before flooding the loop, if it was 5, perfect breathing, am I at a 3? I can kind of breathe. Am I 1, like almost cannot breathe, or 0, like I'm done, I'm switching back to a regulator? Either way.
Nobody can make a rebreather.
All right.
You totally flood and can breathe out of and not die. It's
Either
nice
way.
Spot, but you know, and I respect the person who made this. It's Mike Young. I mean, he's an amazing engineer, but you didn't make a rebreather that you flood and breathe out of. It's the #1 rule. You never do it. You're gonna breathe poison, and I'm prepared.
It's gonna be awesome either way. Only 7 of these in the world, by the way. 7 Kiss Lunars. By the way, before people start commenting below, I know we could have done this in a pool without even getting in the water, flooding the rebreather and just breathing on the steps and just pulling my... I know, don't post down that we're idiots. We did it on purpose to be more dangerous. We just want to make it realistic, right?
Yeah, and you know, there's hospitals here. I think the only thing I want to add is, like, don't try this at home.
What? Who's gonna try this at home? All right, so here we go. I'm going to pull the loop out of my mouth and it's open. Oh no, this is exactly what I'm not supposed to do, and definitely don't shake it. Oh my God, I'm flooding this unit completely. This is, as I mentioned earlier, I guess consider rule number 2 of rebreather diving. Rule number 1 is know your PO2, by the way, if you're curious. But at this point, the rebreather is completely flooded, full of water, completely. Would it work? Let's find out. So here we start the sequence to clear the water out of the unit. The idea, as we mentioned before, is that once I do that, I will be able to get back in the unit, which is unheard of. When you bail out of a rebreather that is fully flooded, you're done. Your dive is over. Go out. Your rebreather is done. But in this case, as you can see, I flushed the unit. That air is replacing the room inside the unit that is flooded, that is covered by water, and now is covered by air. So the water has been purged. And in theory, I can go back in the loop, meaning I can use the rebreather again. So I take a deep breath. You know what? Let me take another one. Here we go. Blow, blow, blow all the water out. And I can breathe. I can breathe. Yes, I can breathe. It's amazing. This unit is amazing. And by the way, 5 from 0 to 5, score a perfect 5. I was so happy. I can breathe in the unit. Everything is perfect. Oh, so awesome. I've been planning to test this thing forever, because all of this is theoretical, you know. It's like when you build a bridge, it's supposed to hold whatever many tons or whatnot. You don't want to try it. You don't want to put all that weight on the bridge. I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a civil engineer. But the point is, theoretically, this rebreather could be flooded, cleared, and used again as if it was never flooded at all. So that was all in theory. I've been dying to try it, and we finally did it. We did it at Ginny Springs, and you can see why the water is as clear as it gets. I mean, you can't even see it. It looks like air. That's why we chose it. So it was a quick dive. We just wanted to test this thing, and after we did it, swimmed a little bit and went back all the way to the staging area, where I was very, very excited to hear what Woody had to say about our experiment.
How is this possible? How is this possible? What? Mike, you have magic? He literally flooded, I saw the bubbles, the entire rebreather. Not only was it not caustic, he gave it a 5, meaning it's breathing perfect, and all 3 sensors, that's why we showed you. Normally if you did that, the sensors would get wet also, so the computer would stop working.
Are you not entertained?
So, are you mind blown? Or are you mind blown?
I mean, I'm gonna say something, I'll get 1,000,000,000 comments probably.
Yeah.
There's no other rebreather in the world like this particular one right here. It's magical, most powerful.
Look at that.
It's the king. This guy literally was flooded and the sensors worked, no caustic, bulletproof.
Now we're gonna
Amazing.
open it and we're gonna see what it looks like inside, and I can show you also the canister that made it all possible.
Okay, let's do it. How is that? How? I still am like, I can't believe it. And I've breathed off this thing before, and I just tested it in the water to see if I could taste any gurgling or hear any gurgling. Nothing. Don't taste anything. No gurgling. It was breathing perfect.
And yeah, unlike other rebreathers that are easy to put on or whatever, this one takes some work. It requires tools, but
Don't make
don't
fun
get-
of my.
you don't get bulletproof for, you know, for nothing.
Don't make fun of the king. Don't make fun of the king ever again.
By the way, it took me, I want to say a year or over a year to get this thing, to source all the parts, because like I mentioned earlier, this is a KISS Lunar. It's not a KISS Sidekick, so it has some special parts that are very hard to find. Like, they don't make them anymore. You have to find somebody who owns it that is willing to sell it to you, that
The
kind of
lunar
thing.
is the O2 part, right?
No, it's the canister that makes it all possible to flood it.
Oh,
It's called a KISS Lunar canister.
yeah.
The Inconel sphere is the O2 sphere that is down there. It's a circular tank. I'm gonna put a picture on the screen so you can see what it looks like. It's pretty awesome too.
Maybe Mike's one of the smartest guys alive right now. I mean, nobody can build something like this, I don't think. It's unbelievable.
Let me take the loop just so it's
I
easy.
mean, you flood a rebreather.
You can see the
you're
loop is
back.
totally soaking wet, the XL side.
You're back in a cave, you totally flood your loop and you clear it.
Yeah.
You go upside down, you open the OPV, you close the O2, you dill flush it, and it blows all the water out. It's pretty mind-boggling. And the water never touched the sorb or the sensors. I thought I would be in the hospital by now, asking Gus if he can taste anything yet. I brought a Coke because I thought I was going to have to neutralize his mouth, but didn't need it.
Okay. So you can see the sensors.
Oh, they
You can
can't
grab the
see
camera.
anything.
Grab the camera. You can see the sensors, and the area around the sensors is completely dry. I mean, you can see dust in there. It's completely dry. Sensors were protected. Now I'm gonna pull out the canister that makes it all possible. It's this thing right here. See that membrane underneath? It looks like an air filter of some kind. That's what makes it possible. This white thing underneath, this, for lack of a better term, Gore-Tex, whatever, allows air to go through but not water. That's what makes it all possible. So let's get it all out. This is what it looks like. You can see the counter lung. I'll pull it inside out so it's easier. The counter lung is wet. I don't know if you can see the water.
It's wet.
It's wet, of course. It was flooded completely. But this is it. Now let's see what the sorb looks like. So the air, the way the Sidekick works, the air goes through this membrane and down the middle. The middle is what didn't get flooded and protected the sensors. Okay, so that's the head. This is the canister. There's some water in there. Never made it out. We're gonna walk through the trash can and see what it looks like. Look at that.
Wow.
Super
touch it.
dry. Touch it.
Yeah,
it's dry.
Totally dry sorb.
Okay, so let's go dump it and see what it looks like, if it comes out as clumps or...
Yeah. Let's see if I can see it.
I'll try to go sideways. Look at that.
See it.
That's dry, dry, dry. Look at that. There's some water falling in because the canister, again, the water is on the outside. Wow. But you can see it's pouring out completely dry.
Unbelievable.
It's awesome.
Yep. I mean, that's drier than when we there's a little bit of water at the very end.
This is just dust. Again, that water is because the membrane on the outside has water. If you see on a close-up, it has ripples. It's not straight, it's not flat, it's just like this. So there's water inside there because the water came from that side, but not from the inside, which is where the air is.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of now that you would have, because normally you have to bail out for two reasons. One is you flood a rebreather, so that one we don't have to bail out of this one.
Right.
But every other rebreather in the world, I think. The second reason we have to bail out of a rebreather, I mean go on open circuit, would be for a CO2 breakthrough. Like there's a channeling, or something's wrong with the sorb, you used it for too long, that can cause a CO2 breakthrough. You gotta bail out. But in this case, we got it wet. Still no issues with that. Yeah. And I don't know about the channeling in this.
Now, I don't think is likely, but earlier in the video I mentioned that this thing was older than me. It's not really, I just found the date. Take a look.
What's the
I
date?
don't know if you can see it. June 1st, 1999, past leak test. So there it is. So it's 25 years old.
What was this used for though? Was it
For
used
a
for
rebreather?
another rebreather?
Yeah.
And we don't know whose it was.
No.
It just happened to be in one of these that existed.
No. Mike owned it. I don't know where Mike got it from, but I bought it from Mike.
Okay.
I don't know if the US Navy invented it or who did it, but whoever you were, man, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. 25 years old. Pretty awesome, right?
Amazing. Really, really amazing. I'm blown away. I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm not lying. I wasn't joking. I really said, yeah, there's no way it's going to be completely dry. Maybe it's going to be drier than a normal rebreather, I figured, but you're going to get the sorb moist. Even moist can be dangerous.
Yeah.
It starts turning caustic. This thing was bone dry, so yeah.
Amazing. So the first time I dove this rebreather, not this particular one, but the Sidekick, was over a year ago, and we recorded a whole video in Abaco. I'm going to leave it right here so you can check it out.
I love this guy though.
We'll see you on the next one.